If your doctor has told you your blood pressure is too high, or if you've noticed those numbers creeping upward at home, I want to talk to you today, honestly and practically, about what you can actually do about it. Because here's what most people don't realize. Lifestyle changes can lower blood pressure by amounts that rival what medication achieves. In some cases, more. And while medication absolutely has its place, and I'll be very clear about when you should be talking to your doctor, there is a tremendous amount within your control that never gets explained in a 10-minute appointment. Now, a quick but important note before we dive in. High blood pressure or hypertension is serious. It significantly raises your risk of heart attack, stroke, and kidney disease. This video is meant to be educational and to share evidence-based strategies, but it is not a replacement for medical care. If your numbers are consistently above 160 over 100, or if you have other health conditions, please work with your doctor. The goal here is to empower you with information, not to convince you to avoid care you may genuinely need. With that said, let's talk about what's actually happening in your body after 50. Blood vessels naturally become stiffer with age. The elasticity that kept your arteries flexible and responsive starts to diminish. This stiffness means your heart has to work harder to push blood through, and that pressure builds. Add to that the hormonal changes of aging, a lifetime of dietary habits, chronic stress, and reduced physical activity, and you have the recipe for elevated blood pressure that so many people in their 50s and 60s experience. The first and most impactful lifestyle change is diet, and specifically the DASH diet, which stands for Dietary Approaches to Stop Hypertension. This isn't a fad. It was developed specifically to address blood pressure, and the research behind it is decades deep. The core of the DASH approach is straightforward. More fruits and vegetables, more whole grains, more lean protein, and critically, significantly less sodium. Most Americans consume far more sodium than they realize, not because they're heavy-handed with the salt shaker, but because processed foods, canned goods, and restaurant meals are loaded with it. A single can of soup can contain more than half your recommended daily sodium intake. Reducing sodium to around 1,200 milligrams per day, the amount recommended for people with hypertension, can lower systolic blood pressure by 8 to 14 points. That is a clinically meaningful number. Alongside reducing sodium, you want to increase your intake of potassium. Potassium and sodium are in a constant balancing act in your body. When you have more potassium, your kidneys can excrete sodium more efficiently, which lowers blood pressure. The best food sources of potassium are bananas, yes, but also sweet potatoes, avocados, spinach, white beans, and salmon. These aren't exotic or expensive foods. They're accessible, and making them a regular part of your meals can make a real difference. There are a handful of other foods with particularly strong evidence for blood pressure reduction. Beets and beet juice contain nitrates that your body converts into nitric oxide, a compound that relaxes and widens blood vessels. Several well-designed studies have found that daily beet juice can lower blood pressure meaningfully. Berries, particularly blueberries, are rich in compounds called flavonoids that support arterial flexibility. Dark chocolate, the real kind, with at least 70% cacao, contains flavanols that have a modest but real blood pressure lowering effect. Garlic has been studied extensively and has been shown in multiple trials to reduce both systolic and diastolic pressure. Hibiscus tea is another one worth knowing about. 3 cups a day has shown meaningful effects in several studies. Now let's talk about movement, because this is where people often have the most room to improve and the most resistance to starting. Regular aerobic exercise is one of the most powerful blood pressure lowering tools available. Walking, swimming, cycling, dancing, whatever gets your heart rate up moderately for at least 30 minutes, 5 days a week. This kind of exercise strengthens the heart so it pumps more efficiently, and it keeps blood vessels more flexible. Studies consistently show that regular aerobic activity can lower systolic blood pressure by 5 to 8 points. Again, that rivals medication. And the benefits extend far beyond your blood pressure. Something that fewer people know about is the evidence for resistance training, strength work with weights, resistance bands, or even body weight. 2 to 3 sessions per week of moderate resistance training has been shown to lower blood pressure, improve insulin sensitivity, and support cardiovascular health broadly. You don't need to become a powerlifter. Gentle, progressive strength work is enough. Stress is a massive and often underestimated contributor to high blood pressure. When you're under stress, your body releases adrenaline and cortisol, both of which cause your heart to beat faster and your blood vessels to narrow, temporarily spiking blood pressure. When stress is chronic, these spikes become your baseline. This is why managing stress is not optional when it comes to your cardiovascular health. The practices that actually work, and that have research behind them, include diaphragmatic breathing, also called belly breathing, which activates the parasympathetic nervous system and lowers blood pressure within minutes. Meditation, practiced regularly, has shown effects comparable to some medications in certain studies. Even spending time in nature, forests, parks, water, has measurable effects on cortisol and blood pressure. These aren't soft lifestyle suggestions, they are physiology. Sleep is another factor that doesn't get enough attention in blood pressure conversations. Poor sleep, whether it's too little, poor quality, or disrupted by conditions like sleep apnea, is strongly linked to hypertension. Sleep apnea in particular is an underdiagnosed driver of high blood pressure in people over 50. If you snore heavily, wake up feeling unrefreshed, or have been told you stop breathing in your sleep, please talk to your doctor about a sleep study. Treating sleep apnea alone has been shown to significantly reduce blood pressure in people who have it. Alcohol is worth mentioning here directly. More than 1 or 2 drinks per day raises blood pressure, and the effect is dose-dependent, meaning the more you drink, the higher it goes. Cutting back on alcohol is one of the most reliably effective ways to reduce blood pressure, particularly in people who are currently drinking more than the recommended limits. So when should you absolutely be talking to your doctor? If your blood pressure is consistently above 160/100, don't wait for lifestyle changes to work. You need medical evaluation now. If you have other cardiovascular risk factors like diabetes, kidney disease, or a history of heart attack or stroke, your doctor needs to be closely involved in your blood pressure management. And if you've been making lifestyle changes for 3 to 6 months and haven't seen meaningful improvement, it's time to reassess with professional guidance. Medication, when needed, saves lives. There is no shame in needing it, and pursuing lifestyle changes does not mean refusing help. What I want you to leave with today is a sense of genuine agency. Your blood pressure is not simply a number that happens to you. It is a reflection of how you are living, and that means you have real power to influence it. The changes we talked about, eating more potassium-rich whole foods, reducing sodium, moving your body regularly, managing stress, sleeping well, work together synergistically. You don't have to do everything at once. Start with one thing, the one that feels most doable. Build from there. Small, consistent changes compound into significant results, and your heart is worth the effort. Thank you for being here. And if this was helpful, please share it with someone who might need to hear it.